AV, I don't intend to blame you here, bud, but this time you've gone too far.
Well, it does sound like you're about to blame me for something.
Well, explain to me this, AV. I walk into our mutual office space, the one that only you and I share, and I find our fern tipped over, the pot's broken, fertilizers everywhere. What the hell, man?
Well, it sounds like someone had a fight with the foliage.
Well, okay, I'll go on. There's my prized copy of Django Unchained on Blu-ray has been split in half and kind of mounted to the wall.
Oh, wow. Django really got it this time, huh?
Well, one step further, my friend. When I walked to our kitchenette, explain to me why I found a box of mac and cheese that presumably had been cooked and then shoved back into the box, sort of like a reverse birth.
Ugh, that's gruesome.
AV, I have the whole goddamn thing recorded. Okay, we captured it on the security cameras. You did it.
I don't know how to tell you this, Peon, but we don't have an office. We're in your living room. You're doing circles on the floor.
Well, it is my cat. Welcome, broadcasting to the entirety of the Super Smash Brothers community. This is Beyond the Metagame. I'm your host, Peon, this week live from the Blackjack table. I'm joined, as always, by wonderful co-host, AV. AV, how's it going, big boy?
Counting those cards, that's what I'm doing.
Do you know how to count cards?
So it's essentially just assigning values to certain cards. Like whenever you see like a face card, you just you increment a counter up, and then whenever you see whenever you see a non-face card, you bring the counter down. It's something like that. It's actually
why do you assume that you know more about it than I do? Just because I asked you if you know about it. Like I know how to count cards. You could have been like, I know a little bit. Do you know, Peon? Why do you always assume that I need to be taught something, Abhi?
I don't know. It's because you're from backcountry, dude.
It's not people in the backcountry, all they do is drink and play cards. You think those are the guys that you want to bring to the casino, man? But
no, you're absolutely right. I apologize for mansplaining that to you. I'm sure that you know how to count cards better than I do. I barely even know it, so I shouldn't be explaining this.
I am lifetime up about. I've been to the casino like 2 times ever. I'm not advocating for gambling here. No. I'm not. But I'm just saying a little bit of ginger luck. I've taken $100 in total from the Devil's Men, and I think that I might call it quits on my gambling career. I'm up 100. You know what I mean? I won. I can walk away with my head held high.
That's how I felt about the stock market. I was like, I got some serious cash on a call option once, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take it and leave, and then I didn't listen to this myself, and then I lost a lot of money. So I would stick where we're at. I would stick with it.
Thank you. Well, speaking of playing the odds, AV, have you been playing any Smash this last week?
I've been dabbling in the game that we call Smash. It's a bit here and there, actually.
What have you been doing?
I've been practicing a lot of DK stuff. Unfortunately, my only practice recently has been online due to work being really hectic. But I've been developing the Joker. The Joker's coming along just as well. I haven't been able to make it out to a tournament lately, but I think I'm in an okay place with the game. But honestly, fairly uneventful this week. How about you?
Yeah, I didn't go to my locals last week either. I have 2 that I attend regularly, but last week I just had I hadn't seen my girlfriend for a while. We kind of did a date night. It was just it just didn't end up working out. So last week I didn't really do anything too fun, other than in my free time I've still been grinding the Pokemon trainer. That character, for any listener that mains PT. feel free to reach out to me and tell me, what you have been practicing, because that character just has so much going on. Like, there's so many kill confirms to practice. There's so many like early percentage combos of Squirtle to lab at like varying percents, and he's just a hard, like, the PT is just hard, and that's part of why I've been enjoying the character. But I haven't really been able to bring him out in bracket too much when I have gone to tournaments, because, well, like, usually my like winners round 1 or something, an opponent I know I'm going to beat, I'll play Pokemon Trainer just to get some reps in. But I'm still not confident. I put so much time into the character. I'm still so not confident with him in bracket. I don't really know what it is, but I'm hoping to bring the trainer to a more respectable place in these next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, the paradigm of the character is very different from what it seems like you're used to. I know, like, it's really hard to say that because you just pick up good characters really well. But I mean, it's like a far cry from like the simplicity of Wolf or Cloud.
Yeah, I mean, I play Inkling, and Inkling's pretty hard to play. I can confidently say,
exactly,
but I put a lot of time into Inkling. I think that Pokemon Trainer is even harder to play, and has like the weird factor of being 3 different characters in one. I don't know. I'm not gonna rant about it too much, but I've been having fun with the character. I will update if I actually become proficient with him. And again, any Pokemon trainers out there, feel free to send me some tips. But AV, I have some quick housekeeping to do before we get into the episode proper. Of course, this podcast does come with its costs, especially when my co-host AV has been making a long series of irresponsible financial decisions. Okay, I have never seen my bank account lower than I have this morning. AV told me to invest in oil. Yeah. Olive oil, he said. And that did not pan out too well for me. So please consider supporting BTM on Patreon. That's right. If you do, you'll be given a whole bunch of sweet rewards. AV, how about you try selling them on these rewards?
Yeah, after I sold you on that Turkish champagne that we definitely needed. I think that some of the coolest things that you get from this, from being a BTM patron, is the BTBTM podcast. It is an exclusive patrons-only podcast that we produce every month just for you. And we do talk about everything but Smash. It's kind of, if you kind of enjoy the banter that goes on here, you'll definitely enjoy that. And something else cool you get is access to the BTM Lounge, which is an exclusive chat room in our Discord. That's where you get to hang out and see all the antics with all of the other patrons and ourselves. So those are 2 really cool things you get.
Yeah, and our highest tier actually gives you a free lesson with AV and I monthly, where we give you like a deep dive on whatever you're struggling with. So it's been pretty cool, man. It's been fun. Shouts to all the BTM patrons. But AV, one more quick thing. The BTM Discord member and patron and community member Giuseppe said, "Hey, I have some Rivals of Aether copies to give away, but if you want to have a chance to win them, you have to like submit an essay based on anything vaguely BTM or Smash related. You can just enter your submission in the contest-submissions page." And I will say, me and you invented that, like, the rules, right? Giuseppe didn't tell everybody to write the essays. It was you and I, because we have so many funny writers in the community. So yeah, consider submitting something if you want a free copy of Rivals of Aether. And I mean, that's all I got for housekeeping. AV, do you want to tell people what we're talking about today?
Sure thing. I mean, today we're talking about owning up to your shit. Like, honestly, there's so many things in Smash that make it so accountability focused. Like, every time you get a hit, every time you lose a stock, every time you get red, every time like the internal parts of your mind are exposed, you have to accept that, like, micro loss, so to speak. And we want to talk about basically acceptance of all of these things.
Absolutely, AB. Well, hey, all that and more in just 1 second. Welcome back to Beyond the Metagame. This week, AV and I are here to talk about owning your gameplay. AV, do you want to introduce the topic?
Sure thing. I mean, Smash is a game where it is you and the controller versus someone else with the controller. There's lots of stuff that goes in terms of learning matchups, learning your character, and grinding this all out. But at the end of the day, at that win screen, there is only one person that will be able to come away the victor, and there's only one person that is going to be at blame for the loss. A lot of the time, we find ways to make ourselves feel better about the loss. We find ways to make excuses for why we lose, or to kind of find reasons to somehow justify a lot of the ways that we were either exposed or that we weren't or the ways that we didn't execute.
Right. And that's kind of so pertinent
gameplay
now, AV, because like we've seen the success of certain characters in the metagame recently, like Game & Watch and Pac-Man. Like T recently won that Thunder Smash tournament in SoCal. T, the Japanese Pac-Man. And like you see like the community reaction, and this is almost exclusively quarantined to like, you know, places like Twitter, where there's just a lot of negativity and echo chambery kind of stuff happening. But you see the you know, very loud minority talking about, oh, these characters are dumb, these characters are bullshit, and I honestly see that trickle down a little bit into my local scenes. You know, having people, man, I'm telling you, like even just playing against some people at my locals and seeing them when they lose instantly have a negative reaction where they say this game's dumb, that character's stupid, those kind of reactions. And I kind of want to address both the negativity of the community at large and perhaps the negativity that you and I and others sometimes feel like immediately post loss.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it is kind of crazy because something that we did get to touch on last week was just like the concept of just characters that are so easy to complain about. I mean, Game & Watch, like we watched Meister kind of like tear it up recently at Big House, and it's so easy to complain about this character. It's so easy to say, oh, the up B out of shield. It's like it's both like a panic option and it gets you and it gets you into the advantage state. There's like so many like amazing hitboxes. Dash attack is like comes out so fast and it has like no lag. But I mean, there's so many ways that people can like justify their losses against characters like that, or against matchups, or against play styles, right? But and it's so hard for some people to just say, you know what, this player is extremely talented. They outsmarted me. Let me figure out my stuff and let me just put all this to the wayside because it's not going to help me improve as a player.
Right. And I think that like Smash is one of those things like you're talking about when you're up against a Game & Watch or a character that you're not so familiar with. It's easy to, you know, be upset, right? Because there's something so vulnerable about like a one-on-one interaction, right? You have no one to blame but yourself, you know, really at the end of the day. And that's kind of what makes it so uncomfortable for people that aren't so ready to take that blame. Well, you know, like how else do they justify it, right? And I think in like team games, it is a completely different dynamic, AV. But I want to talk about how within team game circumstances, like even video games like League of Legends, World of Warcraft, it was sort of easier for me to hone in on this concept of accountability, right? Because let's say you're playing a 5-on-5 game like League of Legends or Counter-Strike, or maybe something like a sport, like, you know, you're on a soccer team or whatever, football team. When your team loses, you have this safety bubble of both the fact that you have a coach, you have referees, you have other teammates, you have all these other factors that go into your win or defeat. And also you have the camaraderie of friends that you're doing this activity with, right? And when you lose, it's so hard to, at the end of it, be like, man, that was entirely my fault, right? So I feel like you don't really blame yourself. Have you ever had anything like that, Av?
It depends. I think the one experience in which I truly can actually relate to this is not in video games. It's not a single player game or a multiplayer game for that matter. It's in jazz. So, funny enough, like when you're playing in a band, when you're playing in any kind of ensemble, um, I've actually learned accountability more from that than anything else. Being someone, so I played jazz drums for a really long time, and
You're
learning,
good too, Av. I saw you
yeah,
perform. I went to one of your concerts. All right, I'm good enough friend to say I've been to at least one concert, and you were shredded up, dude. You were like, what's that movie, Whiplash? You were like that guy.
oh my god, don't don't go there.
Is that what
My
every
jazz
jazz
director.
drummer has to hear now? Like that movie Whiplash.
See, the worst part is my jazz director was exactly like that. So that's the worst. That's the worst part of that. But
He was scary and
um,
mean. To elaborate, the guy from Whiplash was scary and mean.
yes, he was. He constantly singled me out all the time. It was hilarious. It really wasn't, but I will shove that down. But basically, you learned to basically be the person keeping time. If you went out of if you went out of time, if you weren't on beat on when you needed to be, if you didn't bring everyone back into to to the chorus, if you didn't bring everyone into the solo sections, well, everything's on you. So strangely enough, like I felt more accountability playing with that as a team, because I felt like I had the chance to let people down. When I'm thinking about
Oh,
some
that's interesting.
Yeah, because when I was thinking about when it's like when you're thinking about Smash and you're thinking about losing in Smash or not performing, you have no one to let down but yourself. So
Unless you're
maybe
playing
that's just a
doubles, right?
mindset.
But that's not the
Sure,
typical
sure.
typical scenario.
So I mean that's actually what kind of allowed me to basically to become more accountable for my own actions, which is uh kind of contradictory in a sense.
Yeah, that like you would foster it, the concept of accountability within a like group format as opposed to a solo format. That makes sense because I think you're someone who's very conscious of others. I think at my core, I am more narcissistic than you are, right? So like for me, it was kind of the opposite in the sense that I was playing League of Legends, and I'll specifically hone in on this. If you've ever played solo queue League of Legends, where you are playing a ranked game, but you match up with four other people for a team of five, um, that's one of the most frustrating gaming experiences that's out there, like bar none, no exceptions. Because if you get paired with one guy on your team who decides he doesn't want to win, you're just not going to win, and then that's goodbye to like 40 minutes of your life, right? And some of your points to rank up. So it's
Right.
really frustrating. But what you kind of learn to do in that aspect, like, the danger is that, right? Like every time you lose, you blame your teammates, right? Like, oh man, like, well, my teammate, he intentionally wanted to lose, therefore we lost, or stuff
Sure.
like that. And if you ever talk to a guy that plays League of Legends and you ask them about their most recent match, that's what the dialogue's always going to sound like. Oh, dude, it sucked. I had this guy in the mid lane who was just absolutely feeding, and he ruined my whole game for me. That's always the dialogue, right, that you hear.
Yeah.
And for me, that was kind of where I was coming from. And then slowly but surely, I started. I don't know what one specific thing didn't prompt this, but after years of playing the game and being frustrated with myself and with the world and the universe around me, I kind of slowly started to adopt this mindset where every time I lost, no matter what, I would blame myself. And in doing so, I improved because I said, look, all these factors happen. I couldn't really control that. But what I could control was being bop, boop, bop. And how can I do that better next time? Right. And that's kind of how I started reframing things. And of course, I couldn't do it perfectly. But if it weren't for that experience playing a team based game and being baptized by the wrath that is the League of Legends solo queue, I don't know if I ever would have fostered that mindset playing Smash alone. Maybe I would have, but that's not where I adopted that mindset.
It's really funny. When I think about improving at Smash, the way I think about it is that you are a team. Strangely enough, there's a lot of good things. There's like a lot of like different parts of yourself that you're leveraging, and then there's parts of yourself that are holding you back.
What you're
There's
saying,
like
like your own person is the team.
yes.
Okay, this is
So
anime as hell. I mean, I've kind of digged this.
I mean, so think about this. There's like parts of yourself that control reading. There's parts of yourself that control your execution. There's character knowledge. There's parts of your brain that like remember to do certain things, like certain things in your in your gameplay. And then
You
there's
know what I'm
there's like
envisioning is like the Avatar from the Last Airbender, and he's just like it's like Aang looking through all of his past lives and gathering knowledge from all of them simultaneously. That's kind of like what the picture that you're painting in my head right now.
that's beautiful. It's way better than I could have ever imagined it. But that's exactly what it is. Like instead of like a bunch of other bumbling idiots on your League of Legends solo queue squad, all of the idiots are in your head.
Yes.
It, and there's always one part of it that you feel like held you back. There's always things that we hyper focus on, and that's actually one of the cool things that we get to talk about is the sense that like is like when you lose, let's just say you had this incredibly hard fought battle. It was last stock game 5, and all you do was you miss one kill confirm. You're gonna
Oh
think
god.
that the reason you're losing is because you don't know how to hit your kill confirms, when in reality the reason that you were losing could have been because you weren't hitting your bread and butter combos at the beginning at all, or you weren't actually like reading your opponent's habit that they did 3 or 4 times in a row. Like it's
Yeah.
so
It's
easy
almost like
to
recency biased, right? Where like the
exactly,
last
yeah.
moment is the one you focus on. Where like there were so many moments in that set that you could have done something better at or whatever.
Right. It's like if you, in like a League of Legends game, like for like you were saying, like all it takes is one person to ruin the game. But what if like you were actually managing to win 4v5, which has happened actually many times for me, and but then you threw it right at the end. Like you had a chance to win
Oh.
4v5, but then you threw the game away,
But you know
and
what's
then
funny?
you
Like
just
with what you just
like
painted was that instead of being angry at a player on your team in League of Legends, for instance, or Counter Strike, whatever esport you're playing, in Smash, maybe like in this scenario, you're not getting angry at a different player, but you're kind of getting angry at the part of you that is responsible for kill confirms, right?
right,
Where
right.
in reality, like guess what? Each individual aspect of your gameplay, again being personified, was responsible for a lot during that set. And like, how do you look at all those individual images of yourself and say, what could I have done better here, there, that, and kind of distribute the blame evenly? That's pretty cool. I like where your head's at.
Yeah, it's because it's cool. It's because like that one feeder on your team, the one person who wasn't doing anything, like yeah, that person was the problem like for the game, but you could have totally tossed it in other ways too. There's so many different ways to slice up the cake. There's so many different ways to like break it down and to kind of materialize all of these all of these parts of losing
Yeah, that's a
into your
good
brain.
tip, dude. I'm gonna really absorb that. The fact that like yeah, like there's never one reason why you lost. That might be the culprit. That might be the scapegoat. The one that you could point to and say, "God damn it!" But yeah, I mean, in all defeats, there's something that you could have done better everywhere. It's that's a pretty cool. I mean, it sounds kind of obvious when I just describe it like that, but specifically the personification of it is going to stick with me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we got to explore this analogy with you. But something that I think you've brought up to me, well, is the fact that is the agency of yourself to change everything in your game,
Well,
as
dude, that
opposed
was the
to
light bulb. Oh,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
yeah, oh yeah, no. Well, I was just saying like the one thing that I think you've said a lot to me and you've described to me really well is how in Smash and in the single player game, because you take all the blame, you have the agency to format your reality.
Oh god, I've never said that, but I'm down. I'm down. I'm down to take that. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like that was for me the golden nugget. Like I traded maybe 1 year of my life to League when I was younger, but like what I've learned, and this has stuck with me through Smash, and it's certainly been reinforced through Smash, is that whatever is your fault is also something that is capable of being fixed by your own hand. You said it better than I did, but if it's your fault, you have the power. And that's the most beautiful thing ever, that blame equals power. And, whereas if you blame stuff like, Wolf, the character Wolf, it keeps hitting you with down smash as you recover and two framing you. Well, guess what? You don't have the like if you give Wolf the power, then you're screwed, bro. Like you're not gonna nerf Wolf. You're not gonna send a postcard to Sakurai in perfect Japanese, just explaining why he needs a nerf. So you forfeit that power at that point when you give it to someone or something or some concept. If you then transfer all the blame to yourself, then you transfer that same power to yourself that you can actually use. You can equip it and make changes. And that's like, dude, that's for me the most important lesson I've learned when it comes to improving at video games and specifically improving at Smash.
And the thing is that you're so right, but there's this pervasive forfeiture of that like power all the time. Like people are constantly willingly giving up that power just so that they don't have to care. The silliest thing about doing something seriously or competitively is this tug of war between saying that you care about it when you're doing well and then saying that you don't care about it when you're not doing well. And it's the most insincere thing that like pervades and not just Smash, not just competitive video games. It's just anything in general. Like whenever you suck at something, there's this your human brain has this tendency to disassociate itself like from the thing that you're bad at, even if you spent a non-trivial amount of time on it. And it always baffles me to see people do this in like in like very very like transparent ways. It's like you'll have played like 30 hours of like friendlies with this one person at Smash Fest, and then they'll go 1-2 and just say, oh yeah, I don't really care about this game. And I'm like, what? That makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it's definitely that kind of self-defense, that self-preservation kicking in, like but because here's the thing, I'll be like, blame and ownership of your own shortcomings is not something that is evolutionarily reinforced or culturally reinforced. Like people don't want to be the guy who's causing the problems, especially for themselves. Like people don't want to be the source of their own unhappiness or their own incompetence. Isn't that crazy? We're talking about Smash Bros, but isn't that? I mean, that's really what it boils down to, dude.
Yeah, no one wants to accept it because people don't think it's cool to care about things in general. I mean, it's cool like when you're doing well, but people just don't want to care about things. Everyone wants to be this aloof anime character that's standing against a wall with one leg propped up against it, sipping whiskey and looking out the window, out into some vaporwave, like like background in the cityscape. Like just chill out.
I don't know, is like whiskey and like, okay, I don't watch that many animes, right? But is whiskey like a thing in anime? Is that like a trope?
No,
or is that just like you? Is that
describe-
just your own wishes coming to the surface here?
Yeah, I may be projecting a bit, but I'm just trying to say that it's okay to not be an edgelord in the sense that like just accept that you care about something so that you never have to deal with it again. Like accepting that you care about something allows you to move forward and stop having this discussion about something that is an innate quality. What caring about something and the amount that you care about something is not something you can change consciously. It's a subconscious desire that ebbs and flows based off of your relationship with any task or activity. Talking about it, in fact, has little to no relationship with this like beautiful emotional river that ties you to whatever task or hobby it is. In this case, competitive Smash. So, really, I think the first step is moving on from that and just like chilling down the river and just sitting that boat.
Yeah, for sure. But like, I pose this question to you, like, not to
Yeah.
play devil's advocate, but to do something of that sort. When do you think it's kind of okay to blame the game? Like, let's say, and is there a point, right? And let me preface this by saying, like, let's say that the next Smash Bros. DLC character comes out, and it's like, I just like dropped my phone. Let's say it's like, I don't know, what's something just stupid? It's like the guy from the Ring Fit Adventure game, whatever, like the new like fitness game Nintendo drops. And it's literally like the weird like ring shaped Pilates strap, and like it's like the new. It's like the next chapter of the Wii Fit Trainer, right? And he's just like this floating band. And for some reason, like Sakurai was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just throw all game design out the window. And he just makes like his neutral B one shot people, right? And for some
Okay.
reason, like, I don't know. But like somehow he's balanced in a way that justifiably makes him very, very, very top tier, like Bayonetta esque from the previous game. But still not bannable, right? I don't know how that happens, but let's just point that this is just a stupid extreme example, right?
It's a thought experiment. Yeah.
Thank you. So the Pilates band is out here murdering kids. Like 10-year-old kid with a sideways Joy-Con comes to the tournament. He's just destroying you with the Pilates band. Every tournament boils down to Pilates band dittos. Like, is it okay? Like to add, like at a certain point, if the game becomes, like, are we acknowledging that there's a point at which the game just actually is stupid? You know what I mean? That's my point.
Um that's such a hard thing. It just comes down to what you identify with. Do you identify your relationship with competitive Smash to winning, or do you kind of hold it tightly to like like fulfilling your character fantasy, playing one of your favorite characters and developing something and being able to express yourself amongst a myriad of the diverse Nintendo plus guest cast.
But that's where it
Like,
becomes complex, AV. Like let's say, like,
yeah.
okay, I love Smash Ultimate. It's one of my favorite games ever. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's beautifully designed. I want to if there were still CDs with the little orifice in the middle, I would wear it like a ring around on my hand. I would to show how. Where did you think I was going with that, AV? I just meant like I would marry it.
Why
In a
would you
sense.
use that word to describe the hole in the middle of a CD?
Which word?
The word orifice.
I didn't say that.
It-
I'm saying I'd wear the CD like a ring, AV, like some sort of a bridegroom. Regardless, I love the game. But there's certain things I don't like about it. Like if I'm commentating, which I do sometimes, and I'm commentating a tournament, and it's like game 5, it's like a Mega Man Ditto or something. I don't want to watch that. That's boring. Or if I'm playing up against some guy who's just like every game is going to time, right? And he isn't approaching, and I'm in the lead, and we just have a 30-minute best of 5 because like I hit the first stock and the guy just never approaches. I don't really have fun, So it's like there's certain aspects of the game that nobody likes, and in those kind of situations, I could really more empathize with people who are like just kind of so frustrated that they don't want to be accountable anymore. They're just like, oh, that was just stupid as hell. Like, how am I supposed to care about that?
Do you mind if I draw an analogy here?
That's usually my
So,
job, AV, but please give it your best shot.
yeah, the entire thing, because it's sports analogy, this is definitely your job. But consider soccer, right, or football, depending on what part of the world you're from. Why do you think that defensive play, just like kind of ball hogging, but like hoarding, like basically just like playing really 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 slow once you've got the lead, is
Yeah,
fun to watch?
I think they call that parking the bus in
Sure.
soccer, at
Okay.
least in FIFA.
Is that a thing? What if you're just
That's what
making
my
this up?
okay. So my I had a college roommate who loved FIFA. He always went, "Oh man, they're parking the bus! They're parking the bus on me!" He'd always scream that from the other room. So
All
unless that
right,
was
I'll
his
take
own
your word.
original, I'm pretty sure it's a thing.
I'll take your word for it. But it's an incredibly boring thing to watch. Now, I like football in general. Like it's really fun. It's a cool sport to watch. I mean, sometimes when it's 0-0 at 90 minutes, it's not the most enthralling thing in the world. But but like sometimes the optimal thing to do is to play defensive and to essentially remove counterplay and remove interactive gameplay. So, which is similar to Smash. I mean, consider like basketball before the shot clock was introduced. The optimal thing to do was to hog the ball. So, like so at what point does it go out of your hands and become like the regulation, the people who like put regulations in the game, and the people who curate your game experience to actually be like that,
Yeah, well,
to actually like address those questions?
that's a good question. So I mean, I don't think that defensive play inherently is unfun to watch or to play against. Whether it be in, soccer, international football, or Smash. Like for instance, Hungry Box, right? He gets a lot of flack melee wise for a super defensive play style in certain matchups. And fair play if you're not a big fan of his play style. I mean, if you don't like the play style, it's you're right to express that for sure. Um, and I think that sometimes his matches can get boring if it's like him versus a floaty. Uh, too, but that to me isn't the point. Like I think that in a fighting game, well, maybe that is the point. I guess like when you're in a fighting game, that's gonna happen. There's no rule. You can put ledge grab limits. You can do a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of characters that are designed for more super campy defensive playstyle. And maybe the opposite's true. Maybe you really hate rushdown characters like Falcon or something, right? Um, I guess that I'm suggesting that we all have this sort of, we will all inevitably have experiences playing Smash, the game that we love, that we don't love in the immediate future, or in that moment, right.
Right,
So
right.
so
Yeah.
that's all I'm
I
trying to
mean,
say.
yeah. Sure, sure. I mean, in that same vein, it's like the defensive play in soccer is like it's not, there's no regulations or rules against it. It's just accepted. So in the same way, it's just camping with Mega Man lemons, or like Bayonetta like planking in Smash 4 was just accepted. It's
Right.
like, but and you just got to play with it. You got to roll with the punches, and that's just part of. It's just like part of like the entire experience.
Right. And I guess I don't know, maybe like there is sort of a reframing that can be done in those moments. Like again, going back to accountability, where like you're playing against a guy, let's say it's just like some Jigglypuff in Smash 4 or Melee that is just like stalling, just using side B off the ledge, and you don't really play a character that can go out and really contest it and stuff. Uh and you're like, oh, this is the most boring thing in the world. Um, but like channeling focus and doing something uncomfortable, doing something that you don't like to do, yet coming out victorious is almost, it's like proportionately satisfying in a way that almost I think can kind of recoup how much you hated doing it at the time. That said, if you lose to a strategy that you hate, right, or that you just particularly get frustrated against, that is when people are most vulnerable to blaming things other than themselves. I found, like, if you hate Wolf and getting ledge trapped by Wolf and you can't get off the ledge and you die and you lose to a Wolf, it's like, holy hell, I hate Wolf, right? It kind of feeds into this negative cycle. So I don't know, like, what do you suggest people do at their most vulnerable?
That's kind of an interesting concept because as a DK player, like I'm constantly put in that situation. There's tons of matchups that feel very uninteractive. I mean, for example, let me talk about one, which is probably one of the most notable ones, is the Palutena matchup. It's a lot of the time because if Palutena is able to juggle you with side B, up air, some of the longest nair strings in the game, or like nair combos in the game, you generally feel that a lot of the game is spent like in it is just basically spent in hit stun. And honestly, it's super easy for me to say, it's for me to give up. It's super easy for me to basically write it off and just say, you know what, if I'm just gonna hope I don't face a Palutena, or you know what, it's like this is ridiculous. This is not my fault. But here's the thing, I started to like get excited off of off of the thought of just like of like playing this like super surgical and precise gameplay to just maneuver and never get hit, to like the maneuver around these around Palutena, that it created this really cool micro challenge for me. Like I was able to like you say, and like you kind of talk about often, I was able to recontextualize like the game. I mean, it to basically say, you know what, I have to become I have to become like this extremely elusive ape that just that kind
Yes.
of swings around on the platforms
I
and
think
just
isn't Extremely Elusive Ape one of the Karma Sutra chapters?
yeah, I have definitely not read that. I am not actually as in tune with my culture as I should be apparently.
That's okay. That's okay. I've read every single page, forwards and backwards, and let me just tell you, Avi, you're missing out.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. But like, it's I honestly think that
Are you
like
blushing? You sound like you've been moved, Avi. Are you okay? Calm down. Breathe in, breathe out.
dude,
Okay.
dude, I'm in an interesting headspace today, man. This is I'm I right now all I'm thinking about is like swinging on some vines and like kind of evading a one-socked goddess.
Yes. Why do you keep calling Palutena the one-socked goddess? By the way, you did that during
She
the
has one
BTM
sock.
Face Off 3 tournament. You did that. Like you, should we do a little PSA? Like, yes, Palutena has one sock, and equally, you should be equally cautious of the fact that AV knew about that, without having to be told. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna totally expose someone from our Discord, but the wonderful Evan from our Discord is the one who told me that she has one sock. So
Oh, okay. Well, Evan is a Palutena main, so I will forgive him for doing his research.
yeah, excellent Palatine, man. But in any case, yeah, it's super cool to just like make mini games out of extremely hard matchups. And then once you do overcome them, it feels good. It feels really, really good. Like the thing about you saying like it's disproportionately good, like it's so true.
Right. Right, right. And I guess yeah. When it comes down to it, no matter what the obstacle, no matter how much you hate what you're currently having to do, right? That's kind of the point. I mean, I think that's what separates amazing Smash players and their ability to learn to like just run of the mill average competitive smashers who don't really advance or don't really make any great strides in their in quotation marks careers. Um, the best players know how to blame themselves, right? They know how to overcome adversity and to overcome a situation that other players wouldn't be bothered to, be put through. So
Yeah.
I love it, man. I think that's kind of what I'm going to be trying to think about going into those unfavorable situations.
Right. I mean, and just to kind of piggyback off that, not just knowing how to blame yourself, but knowing the correct blame for yourself. I mean, just to wrap up with the thing that we talked about earlier, it's like there's so many ways that you could have messed up. There's so many things that go into your loss or even into a win. Like there's so many things you've messed up in a win, but and that's even worse because you just won. You feel like you're just positively reinforced for all these like bad things you've done, and and you are not able to take any accountability for that. So that's another like completely crazy thing to get into. It's like how do you keep your head cool after just having this really dope set with someone, barely coming out on top, and then not pretending like you're just sick the entire time.
Yeah, and that's exactly true. In the inverse, so we're talking about it from the negative perspective, but from the positive perspective too. There's a lot of blame to be had even in victory, and that's kind of something I want to address. Is like, stripping the word blame of its negativity. The thing is, the moment that we equate blame with power, we blame, or we equate all the mistakes we make with the potential to fix those mistakes. That is when we will improve the quickest. And yeah, like just having a very constructive and productive reflection of the errors that you make, and not to do it like in a negative way. Like, I see a lot of people get down on themselves when they're doing this sort of thing, like, oh yeah, I suck at ledge trapping, or like, oh yeah, I suck at this matchup. And and humorously, that's okay to do, but like, like even MK Leo, that's kind of the thing when you kind of universalize this. MK Leo, when he wins a major, when he wins Evo, he still made mistakes that were entirely his fault, and he can still productively assign the blame onto himself and learn from it, right? And that's kind of the methodology I want to teach.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I mean, and the point is like when you get to MK Leo's level, that's like a curse at that point too. It's like you are better than every other player, and you have to find ways to improve in ways that no one ever has seen. You have to somehow make yourself better, somehow find ways to improve your game and take the blame at the pinnacle of competitive play. So consider yourself lucky that you're not that you're. I mean, maybe you're like an extremely talented player listening to this, but consider yourself lucky that you're not that you're not at the absolute pinnacle of the of something, because then there's that's where it's hard, that's where it's easy to be lost, it's
Yeah,
kind of
maybe
crazy.
maybe you're going like 1-2 or 0-2 in your tournament. It's like, yeah, guys, I already know it's my fault. Okay, that's not helping. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I I think that, the fact that Smash is this solo sport that you kind of approach from not a selfish perspective, but like, it's just you and your boxing gloves, right? It's you and your controller versus the world. And that's pretty unique in terms of like structured competition. Most structured competitions are team based. I mean, especially as you grow up and do sports and most games, and it presents a real challenge. You have super high highs and super low lows. Like, and that's kind of the funny thing, is like, I think that we're really good as humans at taking all of the credit when things go well, but taking not all of the blame when things go poorly. Like when you win a tournament or something, or when you win a set, like when you upset a rival, it's like, hell yeah, boy, I am the god. I am the fucking clutch master. Okay, I got ice in my veins, baby. And and when you lose, it's like, God, I hate Smash. I hate Smash. I hate Rob. I hate the character Rob. I hate the the what is it called, the Fit Adventure Pilates band. I hate everything. uh and I guess that's kind of the thing, is like, in given this context, AV, uh when I lose, right, and I'm not trying to profess this as like someone who doesn't experience this. Like when I lose sometimes, I'm like, man, like, why do I still do this to myself? Why do I put myself through this, right? Why do I allow myself to lose to this guy that I think I'm better than? And I have a very like egotistical post match synopsis before I kind of get a grip, right? That of course it still happens to me. I'm sure it still happens to top players too. But I I kind of came across this question, like, do you not like Smash Bros, or do you not like to lose at Smash Bros? Like, which part is really bugging you? The game, or the fact that you can't win at it, right? And that underlying issue, in this context where you're the only person behind the sticks, you're the only person with the power to make you win, it's quite something to consider.
Yeah, it's a pretty profound question, honestly.
Well,
It
maybe you're going a bit far there, but
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm giving you too much credit, but I don't know. I don't think I am, because it applies to so many things, cuz like it's like you said, it's really easy to give yourself all of the credit when you win, and to throw it all away when you lose. But like, so when you get into the situation, I guess you really get to figure out why you like Smash, and you get to like explore all of these wonderful reasons of why you like to play the game is when you lose. It's like take the time after losing to go play like Ganondorf free for alls with your friends, or take some time to just relax and hang out with people at tournaments. Grab a beer with like a friend from your local scene. Appreciate a new character. Like try out a top tier if you play low tiers. Try out Jigglypuff and appreciate how awesome or try out Jigglypuff or Kirby and appreciate how awesome your character is compared to them. Like,
Puff's not that
sorry if
bad.
you play this game. No, Puff's actually okay. If you play Kirby, I'm sorry, but like, um, so there's so many ways to figure out that, like, if you're not like if you don't have this, like, not saying that like that being truly and purely competitive, being a competitive purist is bad. I totally respect people who do that, but it's sometimes easy to get taken away from some of the very very simple pleasures of Smash that you can rely on, especially when especially when you forget whether or not you like this game or not.
Why I feel like in this last response specifically, Av, you've been speaking in a very sultry voice. I don't know, like you like do this like Matthew McConaughey, like like that sort of a voice, like a vocal fry. And you said simple pleasures in a way that seemed so like pillow talk. You're like, yes, the simple pleasures. And it really creeped me out. I
I've
actually had a
been
shiver run down my spine.
I've been reading the Kama Sutra, dude.
I thought so. I thought so. But yeah, like I don't know, like thinking about all this stuff and thinking about like the responsibility of your own defeat and putting that in context. It's kind of like one of those awesome things where with great responsibility comes great reward. It's almost like some sort of alternate universe of like that Uncle Ben quote from Spider-Man. But with great responsibility comes great reward. It's almost like starting a business or something. It's like a very entrepreneurial effort in the sense that, hey, if you're willing to risk hurting yourself, if you're willing to risk lowering your ego, well, guess what? You're also opening up your opportunity to have great reward. And that's kind of like a really cool concept that for me has trickled into other aspects of life. Like, uh, I don't know. I just like, for instance, if I feel like I'm not getting paid well enough for my job, or if I feel like I don't know something, I feel like I'm not attractive enough or something. It's like, okay, well, how is that my fault? And how can I change that? Right. That's kind of like my first two questions always. It's like, okay, I'm not feeling too good about myself. Okay, maybe I got a little pudge, maybe I've been eating a little too much In-N-Out burger. Okay, well, how do I change that? Right. And it's very much a proactive, I don't know, like results based approach to both Smash and otherwise. It's liberating, Av. It's liberating.
It is, yeah. I mean, the thing I just kind of talked about was at least letting yourself be okay with just relaxing a bit. But at the end of the day, after you like appreciate the game and you're kind of chillaxing, and you just want to be better, and you come back to it like after coming back from that long nice talk with your friend with a nice beer talking about Smash Bros. You come back to your setup at home, and you realize that all of those happy times are over, and it's just you and the sticks now. You do have that responsibility. All of the happiness, the social high goes away. It fades.
Wow.
And you're just left with yourself and no one else. You went into the competitive scene alone, and you you'll inevitably go out alone.
Jesus Christ, dude! What are you talking about? Now I'm just like, I just have this like vivid image of just like packing up the podcast mic and like finding it in a box 10 years later, like in my attic with dust on it, and like those were the good old days, and like
You-
sort of like in the sixth Star Wars movie when like Luke is hanging out with all of his like ghost friends, like Yoda and Kenobi are just chilling there, Anakin's kicking it. I don't know, I had a very you just took me to a really weird emotional place. I mean, I don't appreciate it, man. I don't.
yeah.
I blame you
Why
for
am I
making
like
me
this?
feel this.
Why am I like this right now? But
No, but
yeah,
that's actually
it's
that's funny. It's like, yeah, like if you don't blame yourself now for your shit, like it's gonna end and you're not gonna improve. Like, yeah, what are you gonna learn from all of this? Like now is the time. Now is the time to improve, right? Because maybe there will be another time. Now is the time for me to stop eating In-N-Out burger, because baby, after I get tetanus and I'm, I don't know, holding like a microphone up to my throat and from all of my cigarettes, which no, that's not true. I don't smoke cigarettes, but if I did, you're with me. Those terrify me. Like the reason why I will never smoke a cigarette, AV, is because of those terrifying anti-smoking like propaganda commercials where like the lady has a hole in her throat and she's like, "I am sorry," and I'm like, "Oh no, honey, okay, I get it, I won't." And it was effective, but I feel sad, still.
as you should be. I think the ads have done their job. And speaking of doing their job, I think we've done a good job of summing this up today.
Maybe I'm
Would you
just
say
super
that, or
vulnerable to propaganda. You know what I mean? Like
maybe you are?
maybe during World War II, I would have been like, I hate the Nazis. Uncle Sam's my boy. Send me over. Give me a machine gun. Rat that. I'm about to, I don't know. Am I just gung ho? Like if I lived in North Korea, would I be like, yes, our supreme leader, Kim Jong, is my boy, and he was actually better than MKLeo at Smash. Is that a character flaw?
I think it might be, but I love you for all of the flaws that you have. So
Oh no.
I'm okay with
And
that,
now
and
I'm
I will
just
just.
envisioning me like being born in, war torn Nazi Germany. All of a sudden I'm gung ho about their agenda. And I'm like blaming myself because I'm like introspective. I'm blaming myself on like why the Germans aren't winning the war. I'm like, well, what could I be doing better? And I'd be using this same power for evil, AV.
I think you take
Christ.
yourself too seriously, and also I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start thinking of propaganda to brainwash you into.
To get me to actually contribute to the program that we produce. Yeah, you just okay, Amy. Well, that's enough of that kind of talk. We have some questions from our audience. Guys, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you listening. If you want to send some some questions to the show for AV and I to answer, well, you can do so. Join the BTM Discord and shoot over some questions at the channel. It'll be podcast questions. You can ask us anything. I won't guarantee we'll answer it, but we'll at least consider answering it. This first one, AV, I'm going to throw at you from Wave Tsunami. I've been trying to find. No. Let me start over. Sorry, Wave. I've been trying something new and wondering if you guys would find it efficient. I'm a Toon Link main, but Toon Link has some issues killing, so I'm starting to work in Young Link and Normal Link. Is this a wise idea even competitively since they have similar playstyles, but would also be good for mix-ups for their opponents? So would y'all recommend working with in-character trios such as like Luigi, Dr. Mario, and Mario, or like Fox, Wolf, and Falco, or kind of diversifying your roster more profoundly? AV, what do you got, buddy?
There's two things to tackle here. One thing to tackle is the fact that you have issues killing with Toon Link. Toon Link has a lot of really cool setups with boomerangs and bombs that that should be used to great effect to solidify kills. That's the first half. Is that I wouldn't. First of all, I wouldn't rely on your transcendent brothers in your other links to help you with killing. I would kind of develop that part of your gameplay out. But that being said, I actually love the idea of playing character trios. I think it's really useful. I think If you take Larry Lur, for example, I believe Larry plays all three Star Fox characters, Fox, Wolf, and Falco. And he does that to great effect. So, and I think that there are some stuff that like that crossover between the characters, and it does allow you to kind of pull out to basically turn matchups on their head and pull out really cool mix-ups against opponents. That said, don't let it simply just kind of like don't rely on it as a crutch for issues that you haven't ironed out with the original character. And I would more use it as a mix up to kind of get better matchup coverage. So I would just first kind of focus on ironing out those kill setups, and then absolutely try to throw in some yink and Nink or Link. Nink.
Adult
That was
Link.
it because
Mink.
he said normal Link.
Oh, okay. Oh, Nink. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
Nink.
Yeah, I like what you said, AB. I like the only danger is, like if you're a Toon Link main and you're like, man, I can't kill Toon Link, therefore I should use another opponent, or not an opponent, another character. I think Young Link has a harder time killing than Toon Link, for instance. So it's like, you have to find out what's just your fault and what's the character's fault, which, takes some serious AV-esque introspection. And then of course when you play like three multiple like of the same kind of characters, like you can even think of like Roy, Crom, and maybe like a Marth or something, right? Where Roy, Crom, and Marth play different from each other, but they're all pretty similar in a lot of respects, similar ranges, and similar kind of archetype. The danger there is that, like, let's say you want to counterpick in a tournament. Well, like the characters that are fundamentally very similar will have very similar matchups from each other, right? And if you play, I don't know what the case is with Young Link and Toon Link. I'm sure they have a lot of similar matchups, and Adult Link I think is probably a little different in your specific instance, but you get what I'm saying in general. So that is a danger of doing the whole like main a lot of similar characters method. So that's the con. The pro is the characters will feel more familiar, and you'll probably have an easier, more rapid time picking those characters up. So it's a pro and con. Do you like the pros of that system and the cons of that system? I'll leave that up to you, Wave Tsunami. But I don't think it's a fundamentally bad idea. I think it's kind of cool, actually.
Neat. Think you wrapped that up well. So our next question comes from Seabass. What's up, guys? This is my first competitive Smash game.
What's up, Seabass?
And when I started off, I would just play with my Pro controller, and that's what I do to this day. I know the vast majority of pros and top players use GameCube controllers. Am I handicapping myself by using a Pro controller, or is it just a matter of preference?
So, Seabass, you're handicapping yourself in this respect. If you don't disconnect your Pro controller after playing a match, you may be stoned, almost like the biblical Saul, and peer into the heavens to receive a glimpse into revelations, into the afterlife, right? So that's a con, and a serious handicap. But in all seriousness, no, you're not handicapping yourself. The Pro controller actually has some advantages over the GameCube controller, namely, like your actual shoulder buttons. I think it's ZL and ZR and L and R on the Pro controller are digital inputs, meaning the moment that you press down, it sends the signal. Whereas the GameCube controller has a combination of analog and digital. So like you kind of have to squeeze the trigger a little bit in order to get the input that you want to come out, right? And Smash Ultimate's a completely digital game, at least as far as everything but movement goes. Well, and like tilt sticks versus. Well, I don't want to conflate things too much. Basically, you can shield more quickly on a Pro controller if you have shield bound to one of your triggers, right? So in a certain way, you have more digital buttons, which is an advantage. But GameCube controller has the notches on the control stick. So there's literally, what is it, a hexagon, an octagon around the left stick on the GameCube controller, which makes certain things more consistent because you can kind of just slot the stick into the direction that you want to go, which is super friendly and makes like, doing certain angles with, let's say, like Fox's up B, or just like, differentiating between down smash, forward smash, that kind of thing. That makes that more easy. Because the Pro Controller only has like a circle, not a hexagon or octagon, whatever it is, around its control stick. So, there's pros and cons to both, but whatever you're used to is probably your best bet. Like, don't worry about it. I would just say stick with whatever you're using as long as it's one of the two.
Yeah, and if you want an example of a pro who uses Pro Controller, Zachary, I believe, uses Pro Controller. So,
well, he actually just swapped a GameCube controller.
Never mind. That was a bad example.
So, but it really is preference. And he did just win Big House. So I don't know. That isn't a very good evidence.
That was a terrible example. Cut the tapes. Okay. Yeah, I think there are a bunch of pros who actually use Pro Controller. So don't beat yourself up if that's what you do. That being said, we're going to move on to our next question from Spiny Woodchuck. Do you want to fire that one off?
Yes, sir. So Spiny Woodchuck says, I'm pretty new to the Discord community. I assume he means the BTM community, but have been playing Smash since the 64. I didn't have many friends who played Smash growing up, and I didn't really go to tournaments either. Now with Ultimate, I have been really working on improving, but feel frustrated because I can't get out of being a mid-level player and have plateaued. I have tried doing some tournaments and feel like I don't remember how to play the game. I know I have more skill than what I'm putting out, but can't seem to overcome this mental barrier when facing an opponent I don't know. Do you have any advice to ease the pressure of facing unknown opponents and playstyles / getting into tournaments?
I can personally relate to this a lot because I struggled with it. I was not able to play against opponents I didn't know because I would be using information that was irrelevant to the task at hand. Something I would do a lot is, and this may not be the case with you, but I guess my inclination is to kind of go over my experience. And so what I do is in friendlies, I would kind of try to pick up on habits, and then I would just kind of download people, and then I would realize that I can't do that when I'm playing someone that I've never played before. So I think it's really a matter of framing. It's really a matter of mindset and placing some checkpoints for yourself. One thing I really like to do now is when I'm playing a new player, I'll place these mental checkpoints. I'll think about, okay, I'll check off, like, I'll figure out how they get up from ledge. I'll figure out what's their favorite tech option on stage. I'll figure out what do they like jumping or do they like approaching on the ground. So like I'll start checking off a lot of these things and kind of getting into a habit of routinely going over each one of these things that a new player does, especially when you just play a bunch of different people in friendlies and kind of get used to this checklist habit. It allows you to kind of be a lot more comfortable because you have a game plan going into a player that you've never played before.
Yeah, I mean, I love everything that you said. I don't really have too much to add other than the actual pressure of the tournament environment doesn't ever go away entirely for most people. Of course, this is a non-answer, but with time, it will become easier. But of course, for those who are initially getting in, breaking through that sort of membrane, that's kind of graphic. I apologize. You have to get some time behind the sticks in a high pressure environment. Maybe you can't exactly emulate a tournament condition, but you can emulate things like money matches. You can play someone in person, like a friend that you do know, and put real stakes on the line. You can play online quick play or something when you're having fun and say, if I lose this match, I'm done. I'm done for the day, right? And I don't know, or whatever, like kind of give yourself some stakes to work with to make you nervous and, practice under the conditions of you being nervous. You can never entirely replicate what it's actually like being, last stock, last hit in a tournament. But, that's one of those things that you can't really prepare for other than just by doing it, right? In some respects. But yeah, I hope that helped. AV, anything else to add?
Not at all, other than the fact that don't be afraid to care. Like we talked about today. Caring is cool. The more you care, the more that you actually get pressured when you play. And the more you get pressured when you play, even in friendlies, if you really care, then that starts emulating tournament play a lot better.
Yeah, dude. And like the thing is like this is one thing that maybe AV. I feel so alive in that exact circumstance when I am strapped down to a chair and I'm playing for my tournament life.
Oh god.
No. There is nothing more empowering, nothing more like, I don't know, life threatening. Maybe I live such a privileged life that like the closest thing I have to like the evolutionary roots of like being chased by a tiger in, near the Euphrates River, right? Like my version of that is being, off stage as Wolf. And I'm just like, right? That's my time to survive and to live, right? This got real primordial. But no, seriously, I bask in that. Smash makes you feel things. I don't feel things, AV. I haven't for years. And this is how I get my fix. So enjoy that, Spiny Woodchuck. But that is all the time we have for this week. AEV, where can people find you, my friend?
People can find me at Abhi Vaidyanatha. Now, that is a long Indian last name, so if you don't want to remember that, you can go over to our podcast Twitter. What is our podcast Twitter called, Peon?
Woo! Our podcast Twitter is called Beyond Metagame. That's right, AV, at Beyond Metagame on Twitter. The podcast you're currently listening to is called Beyond the Metagame, but Twitter doesn't give a damn, AV. Frankly, they never have. You can find my personal Twitter at Peon_BTM. Peon_BTM. That's Bravo, Tango, Mike for all of you Catholics. Whoa!
It's classic.
Yes. Shout outs to all the Catholics. AV, that is all we have time for. As always, thank you for listening. Goodbye. This week's episode was made possible due to BTM patrons BK Otter, Weasel, Hydra, Minlo, Zunon, Deem Guy, Big Tip, Danderson, Ferris, Honklava, Giuseppe, Macatoon, Pandora, Plunder, Puso, Robiert, and Ultimate.